Guys, life is so magical. I am so blessed. I live an incredibly magical life. You're here today because I'm on the other side of something, but I'm going to share with you what it is. Maybe we'll do a face to face too, but this is my preferred way as of late to talk to you. Just a black screen, just the words and nothing in between. I imagine someday there'll be more. For those of you that need other stimulation, I completely understand. We'll get there. But thank you. And for now, take my hand as I walk you through what spiritual warfare looks like in reality. Several months ago, I received a prognosis of imminent death. Okay? It was clearly not something that I did expect. But people often ask, like, what does spiritual warfare mean? Like, what does that look like? What's happening? Well, what it looks like is this. It's a group of collective thought forms that are sent towards you, and that's specifically why in the Bible it says, no weapon formed against me will prosper. It doesn't mean that the weapons won't form. You never know where the enemy lurks. I am fortunate because what once seemed like disadvantages and disabilities have become my superpower when people try to hurt me. My neurodivergency that I don't really advertise to every person I'm in relationship with, but it's something that's let me identify patterns and behavior. And I'm just going to say it. I believe that Raymond was autistic, right? However, there's ways that I see people and the way they move and they behave where I'm like, I don't think people see things this way. I don't think I'm the only one. I just know that it's a science to me. It's so accurate. It's so uncanny that I can tell when danger is surrounding me. No one ever has to say a word, and usually they're smiling at me, but I feel sinister energy. Yes, I definitely traffic in all of the clairs, clairaudient, sentient, all of that. That's there. But there are some other things that neurodivergency I think provides me, which is an almost primal heightened sensibility regarding people and their primal malignancy. It exists. I never planned to go to Istanbul. It was on my bucket list, but pretty far down on my bucket list. My brother in law, Broski, and I have chatted about it. He dreams of travel and he watches all of the travel channels, but he's a anchored down family man. His wife made a beautiful montage and it was a country song, and it's that song that says he's one of the good ones. He is. But that means that he forfeited to a degree his dreams. So we dream sometimes. He'll send me things or make me things and we'll chat, and he'll say, like, where are you traveling next to? And so in a way he lives vicariously, and Turkey was on the thing. He wanted to have Turkish delights and all the tasty things. And I've thrown him like a Turkish birthday party and stuff like that when they've been down to visit. But the truth is, nothing beats the real thing, right? But Turkey was not necessarily on my immediate bucket list. But the angels orchestrated it so that it could be a life saving interception. I had a primary care doctor who started out great, as all things do. But then it turned, as has a tendency to happen to you, Earth Angel. I think it's a lesson you've maybe learned or one that you've experienced. It went from her absolutely loving me, can you relate, Earth Angel, to being weird in my energy. What's happening here? I trusted her. deeply because she made a great effort to essentially love bomb me. She was candid with me, kind of breached some boundaries, shared with me personal things about herself, about her health, about her journey. She had had bariatric surgery, and any of you guys that know me know I'm a plus size girly. And so she was like, girl, I had this and whatever. Also, she was doing the Monjourno. And you guys know all about those magnitudes. And so we talked, and she was like, hey, I'm going to get you on this, and let's see what the only stipulation is that I need you to come in once a month so that I can monitor you on this. Sure. Okay. Strict rules, she said. That ebbed away as the time went on. I did great. I lost like 70 pounds in the time frame that I was on it. And then one day, she said that I could no longer have it. Okay. Now there was some kind of coupon or whatever. This is before it became insane. Like, I had a doctor in my family who told me about it and was like, listen, go to your doctor because this is about to be a whole thing. Get on this before, like, it's out of here. And then you all saw what happened. It was Ozempic, all that stuff. It was out of there. So I had it for a nominal price, but I said, this is working so well. This is the first time I've not had food noise in my life. I will happily pay out of pocket for it. And what she told me is that I couldn't afford it. I asked her how much it was, and I said, well, I think I can't afford it. And she told me that I couldn't. What the fuck did she know? This is where it turned spiritual. The same corruption I had experienced with other people, where they had wanted to love bomb me, have proximity to me, breach some boundaries, get really close to me so that they could either, blueprint copy me, try to destiny swap with me, or undermine me completely and be a disruptive energy, was happening with my doctor. But because she was my doctor, I was reticent to see, and that almost cost me my life. Literally. This was probably, I'm so tired of saying one of the most powerful lessons, because I'm like, angels, can we stop with the powerful lessons, please? But no, this is what elevation is. We do not elevate when we're in our comfortable level. We went from kumbaya and essentially trauma bonding about the state of obesity and what that was like, to her going out of her way to be a weird mean girl and not treat me right. It went from, your shoes are so cute in your outfit, and oh my god, you always look so good and you always smell so good, to tight lips, and to her moving me from an office. This was really interesting, guys. And this is what spiritual warfare looks like, because people will attack you on multiple fronts. So the office that we would meet in was wonderful. And then she moved me to a place that had terrible feng shui. My back was to the door. It was small, cramped, and claustrophobic. And we had talked about office placement in the beginning, and her wanting all of her patients to be comfortable. So this was purposefully done. It had been enough time that she may have thought that I forgot that conversation happened, but I was thinking, my goodness, actually, sorry about the noise, guys. I was thinking, my goodness, this is very purposeful. It was the vibe changed. And then I started to get sick. Now, I thought it was just COVID lung. And that weird thing had happened where she had stopped the medication without any reason and just essentially told me, bitch, you can't afford it. Okay. I'm going to say this because I think it matters to a certain degree. This is a Caucasian lady. Maybe she has some other ethnicity mixed with her, but presenting Caucasian, maybe Latina, maybe. Nevertheless, who the fuck am I? Now, this is something that I get a lot from people. People get really incredulous with me because whether it's someone that's actually outwardly racist, like, who the fuck are you, you uppity Negro, literally, or it's someone that is as melanated and magical as me, who gets in my energy and starts to grow immense jealousy. If you're an earth angel, you will stoke those kind of fears in people, no matter what their ethnicity. But I do have to, as a black woman, factor in things. Not everything is that, and I've had lots of medical professionals, and I would say if I've had any discrimination, it's been more about my weight than it's been about my race, to my awareness anyway. I never can say that I've had a racist doctor in my life, and I don't know that I can say that she was. I can say that this was a spiritual attack that I'm very sure of, and I know that for a fact, and I'll finish up and you'll understand it too. So I started to get sick, and I started to tell her, like, listen, I'm really having trouble with my lungs, and I had COVID twice, guys, and I had my vaccinations because I love travel, and that's when they were using that threat, like, you won't be able to leave the country, because I was not going to get vaccinated. Because with that specifically, I have other vaccinations and I have had them all my life, so please, no controversy in the comments. But my point is, with that one, I was like, this is some fucking government, like, this, it just felt like some psyop shit to me. And I mean, I have my own conspiracy theories about it. We shall see what new limbs we grow in the next 30 years, I suppose. Nevertheless, I was properly medicated, technically, so I shouldn't be having these problems. But COVID lung is a thing. So I started to 1MD it, as one does, and I self-diagnosed. It's clearly I have COVID lung, okay? My lungs, I had a very difficult respiratory time, both times I had COVID. And whereas my husband had it once, and he was pretty much okay, and it didn't affect him the way it affected me. And my husband is a smoker. So a lifelong smoker, essentially. So he should have had a difficult time, but he did not. He bounced right back. I was struggling to the point where I thought I was going to need to go on a ventilator in the hospital, and my angels told me, don't you step foot in that hospital. And you know, I always listen to my angels over everything, because I knew if I went there that I was going to die. That part. Anyway, I told her I'm having trouble with my lungs. It's weird. And I kept communicating it with her. And about a year ago, I said to her, I feel like I'm breathing through a straw. I said, listen, what did Liz say? I'm a fat and I'm a skinny, bitches still ain't fucking with me. I have been bigger and I have been smaller than I am currently. And I have never been this winded. Okay, I take steps every single day, not just steps outside, but like literal flights of stairs. I walk on treadmills. I walk around the world, and it may not be fast, but I am not just always sedentary. Okay, I might be slower than you, but I'm still doing it. So I was like, this is such a weird, laborsome breathing. And everyone around me could hear it. Everyone that was, my clients were commenting on it. My friends were like, your lungs sound, I remember one friend, she's really honest. She's from Massachusetts. She was like, your lungs sound like junk. Your lungs are junk right now. What's going on? And it was very apparent. So when I said to her, hey, I'm having some trouble here, she said, let me listen. And then she came and laid the stethoscope on my back and my front. And she said, now deep breaths. And I did them. And then she was very sarcastic and cruel. And she said, clear your throat. You don't have to put on so that I think that something's going on with your lungs. Pardon me, ma'am? I beg your finest pardon? This demon thought that I was putting on an affectation of phlegm so that she would take me seriously, because it couldn't just be that I had some kind of lung injury or something was off. And we know our body. And so if you take nothing away from what I say to you today is advocate for yourself. It's not that I didn't, and it's not that I didn't use words that were direct. I wasn't going in there like a 5-year-old, like, I don't understand, breathing hard. I said to her specifically, after she dismissed me with that nonsense, I said, I'd like to see a pulmonologist. Real words, guys. I'd like to see a pulmonologist. Can you refer me to a pulmonologist? I'll pay for it out of pocket. Here we are with my out of pocket again. and she is the decider of what my bank account and funds are. And so I said, I'll pay for it out of pocket. And she refused. No, you don't need a pulmonologist. I'm going to send you to... Actually, she didn't offer to send me to anything. It was another few visits with me coming back in to say... She just refused. She said, no pulmonologist. For any of you guys that are medical professionals in the comments listening to this, you tell me the ethical standing of that. Okay, but I already know because a lot of doctors have weighed in since then. And so she refused to send me to a pulmonologist. And then a few visits later, I begged her. I was like, listen, I cannot breathe. I don't know what's happening. Me no breathy. I don't know how to say it to you. And she was very fixated on getting the check off. You know, when you're, have a PCP, they want to make sure you've got your pap smear and your mammogram and your this and your that. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get to that. She's like raising her voice at me. Like, this was a fucking nightmare, guys. I've never had an experience like this in my life. She's yelling at me like I'm one of her kids. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? Now, every one of you guys that are listening is like, Monette, I would have been out of there. Well, this is how spiritual lessons happen for me. I was like, let me figure out the mystery. And this is my empath, earth angel, Achilles heel, this uncanny loyalty, because, like I said, discrimination for me didn't happen around my race. It happened around my weight, where doctors were kind of shitty about that. And a lot of women can relate to that. There's, I think, a sea of TikToks about these kind of experiences. So I am not alone. You are not alone. But this is the first doctor that I had ever known. Look at my Stockholm ass. And this is why I'm sharing my story that related to me. That was like, I've been fat and I've been skinny, bitches now are fucking with me, essentially, right? And so we kumbaya'd and fist pumped and, girl bossed all about it, right? Until she started to do a thing. And there's this whole thing. One of my clients, God bless you, shout out to you, sweetie, sent me an article about people that lose weight that then have their own prejudices against fat people. I was like, bitch, not this too. Anyway, so I knew I was dealing with some level of issue and discrimination and weird behavior, but I didn't understand what it was. But there's another layer here too. Was it maybe about that? But it was also this earth angel energy that will irritate the shit out of people. Who are you? Why do you radiate? How come everybody in the office has such a reaction to you and everyone talks about you when you leave? Like that, for someone who's used to being Don Dada and the king of the hill, that will get under their skin. And then if they can mean girl you and they can backdoor you and they can treat you badly, they're going to do it. And she got so in her fifis that she tried to kill me. And I'm saying that because that's what it is. That's what almost happened. If I didn't have angels, thank God, to intercept it. So I'm like, can I see a pulmonologist? No, refusal. Several visits later, I can't breathe. Me no breathy. And then she's like, I guess I'm going to send you for a CT. In the CT, they discover that the bottom part of my lungs are not functioning. She calls me into the office because she has to tell me the results. She says, listen, it looks like ground glass at the bottom of your lungs. Yeah, it might be something associated with COVID and whatever. And I'm like, okay, so what do we do after this? Who do I go see? What specialist? No follow-up referrals, guys. And I didn't know there was supposed to be a follow-up referral. I was researching it. I saw that this was a thing that happened and your lungs could look like ground glass. I reached out to a family friend that's a pharmacist. I reached out to the doctors in my life. They were disgusted by her behavior. They're like, listen, something's not right. Why would she tell you like this and not give you any solution-oriented thing or whatever? This was such a powerful lesson for me because we sometimes will implicitly trust whoever is the professional, quote unquote, right? So I go on with my life. She said, also, yeah, there's something going on in the CT scan. They caught something with your thyroid, but it's not, whatever. What I'm going to do is just have the girls call you from the office. So I wait, and within a couple of weeks, I get a call from the office. And the girls are giggling on the phone. And my office and doctors, this is not like a doctor's office that you can call directly. It is with a medical group. We have several medical groups in the state that I live in. And it is with one of the medical groups. And so they have it where there's this call line where you can't call directly to the office. It is farmed to a third party, thing. So it's not like back in the day where you just like pick up and call your doctor's office directly. I know some of you guys still have those. That's just not how this works. So instead of me being able to call back because I'm fast forwarding, they were giggling on the phone and then they called me, guys, okay? But they're giggling on the phone and shuffling papers and they were supposed to give me the number to an endocrinologist because she said, yeah, I don't know, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but something's going on with your thyroid. And then they giggle, 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 shuffle, 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 laugh, 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 and hang up on me. You can't make this shit up. This is spiritual warfare. Wow, that's strange. So I call back the third party, leave a message. Can they call me back? Can someone from the office call me back? I wait another week or so. They call back. The same exact thing. Never in my life have I had this happen. 2 hang-ups, 2 giggle giggles, 2 shuffle shuffles. I'm like, is this fucking happening? The next time I'm in the office, I tell the doctor, I didn't ever get the number to whoever you were referring me to, and I started looking around. I called my insurance as well, but I took matters into my own hands. But I said, I never got the number of who you were referring to me to. This happened. And she was like, oh, it did? Not I'll talk to them, not I'll look into it, just like, that's weird. Isn't it? In that moment, I knew my time with that doctor was over. I was like, I don't like her and she doesn't like me. I don't know what happened. Nothing changed on my behalf. So this has to be some kind of entity, co-opt, infestation, attachment. This is not, all I've been is lovely with her. Literally and truly. I can stand on that. The angels start intercepting because we're getting into the danger zone. I just don't know it yet. A client hires me to accompany her on a trip to Turkey. And I had another client over there that I met up with and other things and some friends too. So it was a lovely trip. At the end of the trip, another client, because I worked the whole time I was there, the client was lovely. I've shared it with you. She took care of everything. I had my own apartment. It was great. It was fantastic. It was just a really healthy trip. I've had some girl trips that have gone left, so it's so nice when things work as they should. But the hiccup and the bit of drama that happened was with the discovery of something not good. A client said to me, oh, Turkey has incredible medical care. And my clients can hear the distress in my breathing and the change, because this is a client that's worked with me for over 10 years. And she was like, they have great medical care, you know? And she had asked me before, like, are you getting this checked out? Because she's in the medical field. I said, you know, it's so weird. My doctor refused to send me to a pulmonologist. She's like, that is unheard of. What is happening? What is it to her? You know how many times I've heard that since? That you go see a pulmonologist. She was like, well, while you're in Turkey, if you got the extra scratch, you should go get a little checkup there because it's going to be so much cheaper than America. She sends me a TikTok. I'm not even really on TikTok. Like, I'm on it because I'm on it, but I'm not on it. Like, I don't doom scroll there anyway. So, she sends me a little TikTok of a girl who has gone to another medical group in Istanbul, not far from where I'm at. So I reached out to a couple of liaisons via WhatsApp, which is their mode of communication. Someone gets back to me who is fantastic. Her name is Ellie. And Ellie and I have actually become friends in the weirdest way because that's how God plays the games he plays in the beautiful side. She has checked on me almost every single week since I've been back stateside. I couldn't have even asked for it. We had this really lovely connection. When I started to understand what was happening, she was on the phone with me while I cried for an hour that night. God is good. This woman whose first language is not English became a weird friend and confidant in a time of spiritual bad business, if you will. So she was a liaison. So she sends me over the contract, the paperwork, what it is. I signed up for an executive female checkup, and I'm sharing this with you guys. Whilst other things I might withhold, you need to know this in case you ever need to do this. And so it came with so many things, including a visit to an endocrinologist and a GI specialist. It came with a colonoscopy, and it came with a visit to neurology. I had dentistry done, amongst other things. I had a pap smear done there. Like, I mean, when I say from soup to nuts, I said neurology already. I met with a nutritionist. I had my hearing tested. It was a battery of tests that was over 3 days. It was the executive female checkup, and it was the highest tier on the package financially. And what it worked out to be was $2,000 out of pocket, which is wildly cheap for American standards. To see all those specialists in 3 days would have taken me a year and a half in America and maybe cost me $80,000 to $100,000. That's if my insurance even cooperated with me. Okay. So out of pocket, the only thing in Turkey is they wanted it in cash. So I paid it in cash, and I was like, is this a scam? Am I getting scammed? But I was in fact not scammed. In fact, it's probably the best medical care that I've received in my life. And here's why. Because at the end of the day, I was so delighted because I finally got to see a pulmonologist. And they said, well, and also I was assigned a translator. His name is Farouk. Farouk was fantastic because a lot of the doctors there speak Turkish. Primarily, they all speak English to a certain degree, but not fantastically. So when you're dealing with this medical stuff, you want someone that's very fluent. And Farouk was an engineer, actually, I discovered on our 3rd day of working together. He was brilliant, and he had built all refugee homes across all these war-strewn countries. You just never know. This is a kid. He was maybe in his late 20s, and he was this whole man that lived 30 lifetimes beyond me. I was so impressed with him. Brilliant guy. Nevertheless, Farouk was by my side for each of these visits. And this is after I've taken care of my client, because we were in Istanbul for a couple of weeks. So I take care of my client. She's good. And I tell her, you're good now. I am going to go just take care of me. This is going to be just no big deal. Literally got up that morning before I started my testing, went to the Grand Bazaar in Turkey, had my Turkish moment, had that video, if some of you guys saw, that I recorded with one of the vendors there. And then I was like, I'm going to pop off to the hospital. They sent a car for me every single day. Beautiful car service to and from Doorside. It was lovely. When I tell you, y'all, white glove service, never before. The hospital was pristine. It was an architectural wonder, and everyone was lovely. Well, they call me in. They're like, you failed your pulmonology test. Surprise, surprise. I knew that because I couldn't breathe, and I knew I couldn't breathe no matter how much my doctor was gaslighting me. And I said, okay, no big deal. Let's talk about this. What do I do? How do we follow up? What should I do? Do I need to fly back over here? What's up? And they're like, well, that's not even the issue. The issue is that we found a massive tumor in your throat. And this is how spiritual attacks manifest, guys. 4 years, some of you have come here to listen to me channel messages. And I do that through the vehicle of speaking and through my throat. And every time I go into battle with some archon or demon or lower vibrational attachment of some entity, some demonic force that wants to mute me, what is sent to me is shut the fuck up energy. Because what they can't stand is the truth that I speak. Because of my neurodivergency, I don't mince my words. It's obvious to me you're full of shit, and you know you're full of shit, and everybody else is knowing you're full of shit. So now maybe you needed to hear that you're full of shit. That's my assignment sometimes. That's what I'm dispatched in to do. And this is what it means by the weapons may form, but they will not prosper against you. It doesn't mean I do not, as I'm speaking to you today, have a tumor in my throat that has been growing quietly in its own way. Right now. If you've heard my labored breathing in the last few months to year, a lot of you guys that are my regulars, you've heard it here. You've been like, are you okay? You've heard me stop and take an inhaler. An inhaler that I will tell you was not prescribed by my PCP, even though she said that I was fine. And, you know what she did do? She refused to prescribe me an inhaler. You know who prescribed me the inhaler? My nephew-in-law, which I don't even know if that's legal, y'all, but I'm telling you, he's a doctor, and he prescribed me the inhaler. And then we're going to follow up. I was given one in the emergency room too. We're going to rewind and fast forward to that. But my PCP, when I was like, I need help breathing, prescribed me Flonase and allergy pills. I told her I don't have an allergy, and if I did, shouldn't you send me to see an allergist? But what the fuck would protocol be when you're dealing with someone who is an anarchist? She didn't give a fuck about my health. She wanted to burn it down. She was resentful of me in a weird way. Be careful of people that are weird with you. I can't call it as a jealousy or anything because, like I said, she is skinny. I'll tell you another thing that happened that was an eye-opener for me, and we'll backtrack to Turkey. I went to see another GI specialist who's like a rock star here. in the States, and one of the best in the country. And he and I were chatting, and he was, like, oh my God, I love your cowboy boots. I had on like cowboy boots that day. He was like, girl, who are you? What's going on? And we were talking, and he was like, you need to lose some weight because of your autoimmune disease that he treats. And I said, I understand. And he was like, it's malpractice that you're not on the GLP-1s. Why aren't you on it? These are his words, guys. Listen to me. I'm sharing so much with you because I want you to hear this. This is what happens in spiritual warfare. He said it's malpractice. God will send someone to communicate to you something you might be gaslighting yourself out of. It's malpractice that you're not on the GLP-1s. I was like, oh, I was. He's like, well, did it work? Did you have a reaction? Oh, no, I lost, blah, 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 blah. Everything was great. I was losing weight, no issue. She titrated me up really quickly, though. That may come in handy later. We'll talk about that, the more you know, regarding my meds. But I was like, I was losing weight. It was working great for me. He was like, well, why'd she take you off of it? I said, she didn't tell me. And I asked her to have it. And I told her I'd pay out of pocket. And she told me I couldn't afford it. He was like, what? Like, why wouldn't you? If you want to pay out of pocket for it, what does she care if you pay out of pocket for it? Do you guys see a pattern here? And so here's where my brain cracked open. And when I realized I have to get away from this bitch. Because he says to me, well, sometimes doctors don't understand the struggle of obesity. He is not obese at all. Svelte, very fit guy. It looks like he worked out. But he was like, sometimes doctors don't understand it. And with the autoimmune disease that you have, the comorbidities and stuff, I just want you to get this somewhat under control, because then it's going to make any future surgeries that you will inevitably have to have because of this autoimmune disease, if it progresses, and it does, because that's what this disease does. Though I don't accept everything they say to me, okay? I think I can have some some exceptions because of the angelic way. But he was like, but if you are going to be this size, you're not going to have exceptions. You're going to have surgeries. You're going to have more drama. It's going to be harder to heal. He was so candid with me, so real, but not weird. There was not an ounce of my neurodivergency that picked up any shade. He was being just as I liked him. I like people like that. Tell me the fucking truth. I can handle it. So he was straight up now telling me, he was true with me. And the next thing he said was, well, and doctors don't understand what it is to deal with someone, if they've never been morbidly obese or dealt with obesity at all, or dealt with someone that they love, they sometimes don't have compassion. And I said, oh no, doc, she actually has had bariatric surgery and she's on Mounjaro right now. And I wasn't saying it to be shady. I was saying it innocently because I just wanted to communicate the information. Like, actually, the reason that I'm still with her is because she's probably the only doctor I think that could have related to what my situation was. And he looked at me and he didn't miss a beat, because I think he might be a little neurospicy himself. A little bit on the spectrum himself. I'm not even going to lie. He's brilliant. And now you have to be brilliant to be on the spectrum, but he's a kind of brilliant that I'm like, he was just fun. I really enjoyed his energy. But he said to me, so that bitch can be skinny and you can't? Mufasa. It was my angel screaming at me. You've known the answer the whole time, but you have not wanted to let that enter your mind because you were projecting your earth angel energy and your beautiful empathy onto her, and she was treating you shitty. She was giving you subpar medical care because of her fifis, whatever the fuck that means. And she was already winning. She's svelte. Bariatric combined with Mounjaro is the winning thing, meaning like she is as skinny as she could possibly be, going from morbid obesity, needing bariatric, to living the dream for her, as she said to me, okay? So when he said that to me, and what doctor talks to you that way, right? That was like my angel jumping into his body and saying, we've been trying to tell her in the middle of the night, but she's not listening to us. So maybe if she hears it from you, a random doctor that she just met today for the first time in her life, she'll listen. And I did. I was like, oh, so she's hating on me. Like, it occurred to me. He didn't say hating. He didn't say that word. But that's what I heard. I was like, this is hate? Like, this bitch just took me off of it when it was working. He was like, why did she take you off of it? If you lost weight, why did she take you off of it? If you offered to pay for it, why did she tell you can't pay for it? Anyway, so that was what I was dealing with, and that's how spiritual attacks look. Back to Turkey. So the thing that had me shook is they pull up my scans, and there'll be a corresponding video here where you guys can see the scan, and there's a huge circle, and then there's a tiny circle. I want you to listen to how well your higher self knows and your body always knows. Never doubt your intuition. What did I tell this bitch a year before? I feel like I'm drinking or breathing out of a drinking straw. Just now, you guys can hear me breathe in, and there is this catch because my breathing passageway is so constricted from the tumor that is in my throat right now that we don't know yet is even, I don't know if it's cancerous. I will not know until they biopsy it when they remove it. They didn't want to put me through a biopsy, and they just said it's infringing your actual health, whether it is or isn't. So we have to get it out of you because it's literally crushing your windpipe. When I was in Turkey, they told me, Farouk told me, the doctor said that I would die within a few weeks because of how it was constricting my passageway. And when he pulled up the scan, he said, this is your thyroid, this big thing. And our thyroid is usually the size of our index finger, and it's across the front of our throat. Mine is taking up the circumference of my neck so that you can understand what a spiritual attack looks like. And he said, and your trachea, the thing that passes our airway and whatnot, is the size. And this is what the doctor in Istanbul, Turkey said to me, of a drinking straw. My trachea is the size of a drinking straw. And that's why I put the scan up there, which is not something a lot of people would do, but I wanted you guys to see in case anything like this ever happens to you. You know, I often say I'm the teacher, so I run forward and catch the bullets first. This is a bullet that's really hurt, but I am not going to let it be one that's wasted, because if this goes any other way but good, then this is the legacy I leave. You speak up for your fucking self, and you trust your instincts about your health, because you know more than they could ever know, especially if you are spiritually anchored. I can't even afford to cry because my breathing is so impaired that crying makes it almost impossible to communicate. So I'm going to gather myself pretty quickly here, but I need you to understand crying is a luxury for me these days. You know, in the movies, when someone gets news like that and the room goes quiet, or there's white noise, or there's like a piercing sound like a bell ringing in your ear, it's exactly like that. I think it's a shock response. If you've ever seen the movie Get Out and they fall into the sunken place, it's like every demon that I've ever been up against said, sink. And I just fell back. Farouk was talking to me and I didn't hear him anymore. I was staring at the screen. I was staring at what you're looking at, this circle that's the size of a small grapefruit when it should be the size of an index finger. I'm looking at my trachea and I'm saying, I don't understand. And he said to me, through broken English, we don't know what they're doing in America. How did no one catch this? This is huge. Well, I don't do anything small, Doc. That's the mission that I signed up for. That's that Leo energy. Everything's a fucking show. But we went from a comedy to a dramedy to potentially a tragedy. All of the faces changed. And in that moment, nothing was the same. I'm in a country essentially by myself. My client is dealing with her own stuff. She is incapacitated. She can be of no service to me. I do not have a single friend or family member with me. I just have Farouk and Ellie, who was the liaison, whose only job was to get me the numbers of how much this was going to cost, tell me the extensive list of services. I may post on my community board what the services are. That's something I am going to hold myself to do because I want you guys to see what is offered to you in case America's playing in your face. When I could hear him again, he was saying, "Are you okay?" I recorded some of that so that I could share it, because I had consulted with some of my aunts and my nephew-in-law. I have several people in my family that are doctors, just to see if I was picking the right checkup even. I just thought I was getting a great deal, like at Old Navy or something. I did not think that I would be getting this life-altering, life-changing information. But God did. And that's what it means when the weapons may form, but they will not prosper. For a long time, I was dealing with just subpar, piss-poor care. But my angel said, you put the work in there, sis. We see you. You show up every day. You deal with so many things that people will never know about, and you still give back to the collective. And so I have been putting in, you have a 401k. Well, I had a medical 401k with the angels. I had been putting in, and they gave it back to me in that moment with interest, because they said, we love you and we see the work you do, and this is not the end of the story for you. And if it is the end of the story for you, you still have work to do to communicate it to your collective. So it's not over for you today. You're not going to die here in this country in this way. But what the doctor did say to me is, you have a few weeks. Well, we're several months past a few weeks. So as we speak, we are several months past a few weeks. This happened in July of 2025. And right now it is October of 2025. So here's to beating the odds, Earth Angels. He said, the way that this is growing, we think it's just going to crush your trachea and you'll die in your sleep. One day you just will wake up and not be able to breathe. Breathing, I cannot tell you how terrifying it is to suffocate. But I can tell you how many demons and how many human people that think that they're good humans have wished to watch me suffocate. That I even debated making this because I didn't want to give them any ammunition. And there's no ammunition here, but like any satisfaction. That's the word I was looking for. But the truth is the truth. If this takes me out, it takes me out, but it's not going to. But the thing is this is what it looks like when spiritual warfare is sent to you, sis. Not all of you will get it to this degree. I believe that this is a heavy lesson, and I get them heavy, okay? I get them real heavy because the angels trust me to communicate to you. And that's why this attack, out of all the attacks, is the one that has really made me think, you know what? Fuck that. I'm a warrior now. You didn't put me on my back, because this is personal. See, I've dealt with a lot of other things that I could, say, oh, well, that happened, or, oh, well, this. But this has nothing to do with something I did to myself. This is not about eating too many cupcakes, or this is not about, drinking too much, or any of the things that we could do with our vices. This is something that was sinister and malicious, and it was born of, I guarantee you, and I'm telling you what I know for a fact, so many thought forms of people, of demons who I put on their back. Fuck you, they said. We wish we could cut her throat. And you know what? The irony is, I'm talking to you days before my surgery. My throat will be cut from ear to ear, actually, because the tumor's that big. Usually it's a small incision, maybe a couple of inches. He said we'll be going maybe 5 to 6 inches for you. So from ear to ear, I will have my throat cut. So what they wanted did come true, just in a way that was intercepted by the angels and by the prayers of you. I have asked you guys to pray. I couldn't tell you everything because I'm in the middle of the storm, I thought. But I'm not in the middle. I already claimed the other side. I'm waking up. I'm going to be all right. But I'm going to tell you some things they said to me in Turkey. When they went to send me to the anesthesiologist, because one of the things on that screening was a colonoscopy, and they do have to put you under for that, they said they brought in one anesthesiologist, and I'm going to put him on the carousel of pictures too. And then it ended up being 3. One by one, he was like, I need to bring in another one, and another one, because your case is very complicated. They treated me so well there. I was there for 3 days, and meals were part of the executive female checkup. So I'd see them in the cafeteria, which is not a cafeteria like we have. It was like a cafe. It was gorgeous and very different than like I'm serving stuff over a counter here in America's hospitals. I grew up in hospital because my mom worked in the hospital my whole life. So I'm so familiar with hospital food. My grandmother was a dietitian and a head chef at the same hospital. So hospitals, there was a daycare in the back. I literally grew up in a hospital. So I love hospitals girls in my own weird way. So I was like, oh, this is elevated fare. You know, my culinary self was very impressed by the food and the way that they presented it. Beautiful. Anyway, and I would run into the doctors inside of the cafeteria, and instead of doing what they do here in America, was like skip, stop, and avoid me, weirdly, they would come up to me and be like, hey, we're reaching out to your insurance. We're doing everything we can do. The whole hospital apparently was buzzing because of what was going on with me was uncanny. And also, I don't look like everybody, y'all. You know how I carry myself, too. That helped, you know. The anesthesiologists were adorable. The main one, he was like, are you the Queen of Florida? I was like, no, I'm not the Queen of Florida. But he was, like, saying something, and I asked my translator, what did he say? He was like, he said, you must be the Queen of Florida because of how you're dressed. I thought that was really sweet. But he brought in more and more of his colleagues as that moment went on. Now, the most I've ever had an anesthesiologist talk to me for is maybe about 5 to 6 minutes. Do you have this? Are you hard to intubate? Blah, 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 blah. Any of you guys have had a surgery, you've heard these questions before. They spent an hour and a half with me, and I'm going to tell you what they said because it was really scary. I'm just going to share it with you because I think you need to know. You need to know sometimes that this is how the angels will love you and intercept on your behalf. They said, we've been talking about this, and because your trachea is so small, I said, let me show you a picture. I pulled it up on my phone. I showed them, but they have it too. They pulled it up on their screen. They're like, oh no, we have it. But I handed one of the guys my phone first before they pulled it up on the computer. And I said, let me show you my trachea. And he says back to me in his broken English, what trachea? Your trachea doesn't exist. Your trachea, guys, is probably the diameter of either a quarter to a golf ball size, essentially. All of us have about, it's about that size-ish, depending. And you guys can see the small, tiny circle that's on the other video thumbnail. I don't know if it's on this thumbnail or not, but the small, tiny circle that's on the other video or this thumbnail is my trachea. It's the size of a drinking straw, 7 millimeters. You'll see the number there. I don't know if there's other Turkish writing and whatever, but the number is there. I'm having throat chakra stuff as I'm trying to tell you this. It's like the devil does not want me to say but I'm going to say it. So 7 millimeters. So it's the size literally of like a tiny drinking straw. Not a McDonald's drinking straw, even girlies, okay? We smaller than McDonald's drinking straw. That's so American of me to measure it that way. Shout out to obesity. Yeah, we love our McDonald's drinking straw. Listen, nothing hits better than a McDonald's Diet Coke. If you know, you know. Anyway, so they were saying that he's like, I have to bring in my colleagues, essentially, is what the translator Farouk tells me, because sorry guys, thank you for being patient with all the weird coughs and stuff for the last few months. This is also what I wanted to tell you. I'm not just being weird and gross, like I have been battling over here. Whew. They said because your trachea is so compromised, we want to do surgery as soon as possible. This is what they told me upstairs too, with the endocrinologist. He's like, I'm going on a quick 2-day vacation, but if you'll be here Monday, we'll be doing surgery with you on Monday. If your insurance does it, but also you can pay out of pocket. They quoted me at $26,000 cash out of pocket. And I was like, what the fuck? Okay. Y'all, it was a moment. Let me tell you, my angels don't do anything small with me. I was like, is this the excitement I need? I know that I stopped dealing with F boys and F girls, but you bring me drama this way? This was wild, y'all. And so, thank God to my confidants and friends. There are a couple of people, shout out to you, that I know are listening, that I was able to reach out to with tears in my whole soul, who held space for me and prayed for me, were intercessor warriors for me. And I want to thank you, ladies, for standing up for me and also protecting me. A lot of people have come into my life and talk shit about how they want to protect me and help me, and they're nothing. Not only are they lip service, which is just worthless and useless to me, but they didn't even have the temerity and the balls to do what some of you ladies have done for me. So thank you. But I even had a friend from high school I hadn't talked to in years, but we're very telepathically connected. And she called me in the middle of the night, and she's like, girl, you've been on my mind. What's going on? And I'm like, bitch. The telepathy phone is working. I am in Turkey, and they're telling me I'm dying. And she was like, what the fuck? And I was like, I know. God is good, man. God will send you the right people at the right time. So the anesthesiologists tell me, we don't think that your trachea is we think it's so weak and compromised because we've never seen one this small. And we think that it is going to collapse. We don't think that we can even do the outpatient, because usually do a colonoscopy is an outpatient procedure. We don't think we can do the colonoscopy on you especially because they're trying to figure out for the surgery too, because they're thinking, are we going to do this thyroidectomy? And then the colonoscopy, they're like, we're not even going to sign off on it because that's just an elective thing. You don't need that, but you need this. You need to save your life right now. And we're trying to figure out, we can't even do it in the outpatient situation. We're going to have to put you into the gallery. Now, everything is negotiable in Turkey, guys. So I start negotiating with them. I'm like, listen, I've watched Grey's Anatomy. So let me tell you something. If you're putting me in the gallery, you don't think I'm going to make it. There's like a 50% chance that you don't think that this is going to go good. So you're going to use me as a teaching, like literally a guinea pig, essentially, to teach other students. Because the gallery is literally where you're in the middle of the operating room and it's all windows above and people can watch, like other doctors can watch, right? So that they don't have to literally be scrubbed into your surgery. And they said, and all three of us are going to be in there for this, which is very unusual. This has never really happened. But we're telling you that we're also going to have to sit you up to do your surgery because we don't think that your trachea is going to be handling laying down. We think it's going to collapse. And so we can't intubate you because we can't get a tube down your trachea because of the constriction of your thing. And they can't have any relief come to my trachea until they remove this tumor. So this is this weird catch-22. So we're going to have you be awake. Do you guys hear the fucking nightmare here? I'm in a foreign country by myself. And these men are speaking to me through Farouk, through someone else. And they're telling me, we're going to have to sit you up in the gallery and you're going to be awake for the first part of your surgery. And once we know that you can breathe on your own, we will anesthetize you further so that we can start cutting on you. My God, today, it's a fucking nightmare. It's nightmare fuel. We don't think you're going to make it if we lay you down. You will be in ICU here in this country for weeks subsequently. You will not have clearance to fly back. And we need you to sign off on that. So no, we cannot sign off on your colonoscopy. For an hour and a half, they talked to me. They talked to me more than all of my doctors, probably my whole lifetime combined, okay? They spent time with me, and you'll see the one that called me the Queen of Florida. He did like the little heart sign. Like I was like, I gotta take a picture of you guys because I was like, if I die, I gotta commemorate this. Y'all know I gotta teach. And so he does the little heart sign without me even asking because he was a whole character. I loved him so much. He was a sweetie. So my angels love me so much. They sent me like the best of the best professionals. But that was what I was dealing with. And I'm beside myself, as you can imagine. I get on the phone with my friends and family. I'm like, guys, I essentially just got told I have a few weeks to live. If I don't get the surgery, I have a few weeks to live. Now, it factored in. Could there be scare tactics? Could they want, like, hurry up and buy? Like, whatever. Sure, certainly. Especially because they know they just got a couple $1,000 out of me. But, my God, a couple of $1,000, best money I ever spent in my life. Life-saving grands. And this is something for you guys here. This is why it's so important to advocate and then follow up by reporting these fucking doctors that are ingrates. Because what if one of you could not be of means to do that? That's what one of my doctors, another specialist, said to me when I came back. What if you didn't have the money to be in Turkey? What if you didn't have the money to pay out of pocket for that? You would have just died here, and she didn't care. She's like, you have to report this because that was piss poor care, you know? Like, she was such a sweetheart. God bless that doctor. She literally, like, held my hand, and I was crying. I was just like, I can't believe this happened to me. It's like, you know, like, sometimes you're, like, in a dream fugue state, and that's what this was. I end up coming back to the States because I was like, I know I need to get a second opinion, but I also had made my peace with this is it. Because they were like adamant. They're like, this is it, sis. And you look at that thing, and if any of you guys are medical professionals, you know what you're looking at is incredibly abnormal. And I thought, God, and they're like, how did this not get caught? Every single specialist and doctor that I rounded with was like, how did no one see this? How was this not caught? They said, we can hear your breathing from the door. That happened when I got back to the States, and let me tell you why. I got back, I had kind of made my peace with, I'm going to die. And I was like, all right, I'm going to put out a lot of content. I'm going to do what I have to do, always working on West Indian. And I was like, okay, so I'll just do that. And I'm going to tell you something. I have helped people close down their houses when loved ones have passed away. And that's probably one of the most depressing things, because that's when it really hits you and you notice that. So I've been there to hold space for people in those moments. And so I said, I'm going to get rid of all of my things so that my husband doesn't have to do it, because I don't want him to cry. Not that he wouldn't in his own way, but I don't want him to have that moment where he's sifting through all of my clothes. And y'all know I love my clothes. So I was like, I'm going to sell them. I'm going to put them on Poshmark. So I'm talking to one of my friends about it. She was like, bitch, like, no, you're going to live. You're not selling your shit. Like, relax. But I was like, nope. I tidy up. I call my family. I call my mom. I call my other extended family. And I was like, this is what's happening. I've made my peace with it. Because the way that they were saying it, they're like, we think it's probably cancerous because we can't explain this growth. It's inexplicable. Unless you're under spiritual attack. That part, sis. That part, sir, is listening. Unless you're under spiritual attack, it is inexplicable. Because something like this is usually cancerous, or it's born of a million thought forms from pissed demons that didn't get their way. This is essentially the physical result of tantrum energy that was sent to me because I would cut off fucking evil people that didn't want to live in their authenticity. That's what I'm carrying in my throat in reality. That's what a spiritual attack looks like. You're seeing it. You're hearing it. You've heard it. Every time my labored breathing happened, it wasn't just because I had another piece of cake. It's because of this and the second part, which is now the hottest of the takes that are happening here. I come back, I make my peace with it. Then it feels like an elephant sitting on my chest. It's my angels who said, we didn't tell you that you had nothing left. I had decided that in myself. It's not like I abandoned my spirituality, but I didn't even feel like God had forsaken me. I was like, how lovely that I at least got to know, so I didn't just pass away in my sleep and my family didn't know what really was, and they know how to go get this doctor in the aftermath of my death. I thought I was being blessed, yet even in the midst of the battle. And my angels woke me up in the middle of the night and said, we didn't tell you, bitch, that this is over. Stop marking your stuff on Poshmark. We didn't tell you that this is done. We still have things for you to get done. You still have work to do. And I'm like, well, I've done all the work. I keep talking, but listen, if I can't talk, and I'm going to tell you something else they told me. They said, we don't know if we're going to have to do this, but you may have to have a tracheotomy because we don't know if you're going to be able to breathe on your own, or that your windpipe is not going to be so compromised that you can hold up you'll be able to manage it on yourself. You may be on a ventilator. All of my nightmares come true. You guys get it? And I said, I talk for a living. I can't have a tracheotomy. A whole existential crisis befell me, y'all. Do you understand? I talk for a living. No one's listening to me talk and teach with a tracheotomy. I know some of you said you would. I even had beautiful clients that were like, as I was preparing my clients that I work with, like, guys, I'm getting ready to have surgery. This is what's happening. And my clients were like, if you could never speak again, I'm never not being your client. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. Oh, I can't cry for you guys. There are so many of you guys out there that I get the privilege of working with. You invite me into your lives. You allow me to help you make differences. You listen to my advice. That's the best thing. I have so many demons that come to me that need my advice and will not listen. For those of you that listen and solicit me, pay me my worth and treat me properly. I am infinitely grateful for you. And so I always love the work I do. I love my work. And that's why I was so scared when they said tracheotomy. I said, now, wait now, Jesus, wait now. I was like, have I not been a good servant? But I still was just eating it. Literally. Okay? That's another thing, okay? With no coping mechanisms, for anybody that's ever been through something like this, you will comfort yourself. So I was like, this is not good for my health, but I just wanted to eat everything that wasn't nailed down. I was so sad, y'all. I can't even tell you. And for 2 weeks I did, and then my angel said, get your fucking life, bitch. but I'm going to tell you, my angels were with me every step of the way. They woke me up. I'm so sorry. It's hard for me to breathe, guys. I'm so sorry. about that, guys. What you guys just heard is something that I was given when I went to the emergency room. It's called an opti-chamber diamond. My breathing, the angels just led me into the most dramatic way to the next part of the story. My breathing was so bad that the respiratory specialist there, who was like my nightmare at first, and then I made peace with him, I'll explain, gave this to me. It attaches to the inhaler that my doctor wouldn't prescribe me to this fucking day. The inhaler that my beautiful nephew-in-law did send my way repeatedly and refilled for a year for me. But they gave me one too when I was checked into the ICC, which is where some of you guys saw that video that I only left up for a few hours when I was in the hospital last time. And I was there because I felt those elephants sitting on my chest. This inhaler, like a regular epidural inhaler, connects to this opti-chamber diamond. And that whistle sound you hear make is to make sure that you're pulling in the right amount of air, because my lungs are so compromised that he wanted to make sure that I was literally training myself to hear the sound, to know that I was getting the medicine into my lungs, because the bottom part of my lungs are not functioning. They're literally not working. And then we added another complication, which is what landed me in the ICC, excuse me. I will be in the ICU in a few days after my surgery. The ICC, which is the critical care unit, and not, it's critical something, but it's a step above ICU. So ICU is the most critical of the places. So the opti-chamber diamond and I have become friends. I've even blinked it out because, as one does, right? If I've got to use it and I got to make a spectacle, whatever, I need it in the middle of a store, it may as well be sparkly. I mean, you only have one life, ladies and gentlemen. So, and now I'm so acutely aware of that. And so, I, woke up in the middle of the night with elephants on my chest, couldn't breathe. And I thought I could be dying right now. This is it. I mean, I was on some Fred Sanford. It's a big one, Elizabeth. I'm coming home. And I reached over to my husband and I said, listen. I think I have to go to the emergency room. There was still a fighting spirit in me. Life is so amazingly precious, you know, guys? And so, even in the midst of me making peace and marking my things on Poshmark and whatever, something in me didn't want to go. I was like, I gotta go. I can't. I'm not just gonna lay here and deal with this. This is like, first of all, suffocating is terrifying. And my breathing had gotten so bad in the year that my sister, who has, stage 4 cancer, gave me one of her oxygen tanks. Like, that's how bad it was. She has cancer and she gave me one of her oxygen tanks, several of them actually, which I needed to use. One day I almost was here in my place and I thought I was going to die in front of my husband, and I couldn't get my breath and I couldn't catch it, and he had to get the oxygen tank, and thank God for it, because the inhaler wasn't getting through. My airways were constricting. I was having also an anaphylactic reaction to something I was unaware of, and so it was like this combination of my lungs not working, anaphylactic issues, actual restricted breathing, and the only thing that worked was that oxygen. But even that took a minute. Like, suffocating is not the way I would recommend for any of you guys to go. It terrified me. It was the most scared I've probably ever been in my life, that moment. And if I didn't have that oxygen tank, I don't know what would have happened, because I could not breathe. It's the worst feeling. And so I determined to never feel that again. I woke my husband up and I whispered and I said, I think we have to go. And so we went. You know, and I had just got back. I had been back from Istanbul maybe 2 days, maybe 2 full calendar days. And so I still had a suitcase, like a little to-go suitcase packed. And then I just started washing the clothes from the other suitcase. That one was already done, but I still had one that wasn't fully unpacked. So I took that one because it had a few like things to go. And we rolled in and waited in the ER. And they checked me in. Now, I thought they were going to just say like more of what I just learned in Turkey. Your lungs aren't functioning, you have this thing in your throat. And they said, no, ma'am, you have a pulmonary embolism. You have a few blood clots on your lungs, not 1, not 2, but 3. And if you didn't come in, you would have died, actually. This is why I know that the angels love me. I know you guys here to think, do they love you, Monette? They keep putting you through these really hard things. But this is how I know that I am protected, because people don't make it out of pulmonary embolisms. The flight to Turkey is 14 hours. I didn't have any surgeries. They asked me all the questions. And that's where the blood clots came from. And it was my angel's very sneaky way of making sure that I got medical care, because I had decided that what I heard there was it, and I just wasn't going to have to do anything else. And I was making my peace with death. And if I couldn't have breathed that night, I would have never gone to the ER. If I couldn't breathe, I would have stayed here. And I would have died eventually, because I needed medical care. But I was traumatized out of that experience with that doctor. And I thought, I don't have the energy, if I have a few weeks to live, to fight with my insurance and to convince this insane bitch that I'm this sick, even though I came home with slides and CDs and all the information that they gathered, the heart test, I saw a cardiologist, everything when I was there. I have evidence of how sick I am. I have pictures of how sick I am, and I still was so traumatized from that doctor. I was like, she's not even going to believe me. I don't even want to ever see her again. So... Oh, y'all, thank you for your patience with this. This one has been a long time. I didn't have the energy. My family didn't understand the, we don't accept it, but we support you, but we don't support you. It was a lot of mixed emotions. People were pissed at me. You know, you can imagine there was mixed results there. My mother, she's like, I don't accept that my child dies before me. That's not the way it should be. And I was like, I'm at peace with it, Mom. I fought a really good battle. I've had a lot of medical stuff that I don't talk to you guys about. And I thought, well, this is it. I don't know if I've got another fight in me. And this one, where I was being gaslit, that's why I'm so fucking pissed about this. And that's why, with every breath that I can clearly take, I swear to fucking God, I will set that part right. Don't you guys worry about that. It's already in process. But, I went into that emergency room thinking they were just going to send me home, because I was used to being dismissed here in the States, and it was the first time in a long time that people looked at me and believed me. Y'all remember, I can't cry. We're not allowed to cry. Okay. And so I'm allowed to cry. It's just crying makes it incredibly difficult to breathe. They had to check me into the hospital, and they checked me into the ICC because they had to start me on blood thinners to break up the blood clots in my lungs. So they put me on a heparin drip, IV, you know. Y'all in the medical professional, no. The respiratory therapist that gave me that cool tool, I love a good gadget though, my angels know I do, came in one night. It's 4:00 in the morning. He woke me up. He was standing over me with 2 tracheas in his hand. And because I had just come from Turkey, the clothes that I had at the hospital, they were like, why'd you have time to pack if it's the middle of the night? Like, what? I was like, no, I just got off a trip literally a day and a half ago. And, so my clothes were clothes I would wear on vacation, like fun clothes, you know. It wasn't just like hospital loungewear. I do have that as well, because I've been in the hospital so much. And they were like, you're so sparkly and fun and cute and magical and all the things. So the respiratory therapist thought he would take that angle with me. He was like, I've got one that is a little more plain, but this one's got some good chrome sparkly hardware on, a little more bling. I think this one is fit for a queen. He literally says this. And I am livid, because this is my nightmare. I don't want the trachea. I don't want the tracheotomy. I don't think that you waking me up at 4:00 in the morning, shaking 2 boxes over me because they can wake you up all throughout the night, which is fine. I wasn't upset about that. That's normal. If you're in the hospital, they have to check your vitals. But what it was is that he was trying to like sell me. And I was like, I don't accept that. I don't accept it. And I don't want it. And I'm not welcoming it. And I don't receive it. And I started to push back, and I told him, I sat up and I said, this is not funny to me. And he said, listen to me. And he got right back in my face. And he said, I can hear your breathing from the door. You have what he calls striated breathing. That's what you guys have been hearing, where it's really difficult to breathe. So it sounds like this wheezing sound. So that's why I try not to cry, because it just really exacerbates it. And so he said, I can hear your breathing from the door. And every doctor said that to me. And all the doctors in the ER that night while I was waiting to be moved to the ICC were like, how was this not caught in reality? So literally, medical professionals, both international and domestically, have said that this is malpractice that was done to me. They did not understand how I could have such a big tumor in my throat and no one caught it. They're like, what even was your PCP doing? Well, she was on an archon demonic mission. It's hard to explain to doctors. Oh, see, I'm a spiritual practitioner, you know? I just, in the South, I tell everybody, I will say I'm a professional intuitive empath, but maybe I'll glaze it over and just be like, I'm a therapist, because I don't have time to be explaining and dealing with your issues and whatever demons you got. So it's hard to tell my doctors, oh, guys, I'm on a secret agent assignment as a spiritual warrior and a demon slayer. And so, you know, sometimes things like this happen to me. Yeah, it's not even that she's like fully incompetent, though she is. It's that this is demonic archon energy. She maybe did see it. She didn't give a fuck. She didn't give a fuck to follow up with those girls. She didn't give a fuck to actually be like, let's get you right now to this endocrinologist. She didn't care, because notice what, off her back, one more earth angel that wasn't here. It's hard to explain that to the medical professionals that practice Western science when I'm a metaphysical practitioner and it's a feminine practice. They're in their masculine energy no matter what sex they are in that aspect, and I'm in my feminine energy. I'm seeing beyond the veil. And I'm like, oh no, this was like a spiritual assignment that I'm on. Someone just tried to assassinate me. It's cool. So like, don't worry about it. Yeah. No, you've never seen a tumor this big. I know, I got it. It's massive. That's words I've heard from many doctors. My new PCP checked me out to give me surgery clearance for what's happening here in a few days. And he put his hands in my throat for the first time, and he said, this is massive. And he sat down and he touched my knee gently with a nurse practitioner there, nothing weird. And he said, are you okay? You're so jolly and upbeat. He leaned in, he was like, do you need me to write you time off work? Or like, he was like, do you understand that this could be potentially cancerous? And do you understand how serious this is? Oh, yeah. I'm just doing my spiritual shit over here. I didn't say that to him, but that's what you guys, my collective, understand. Oh, yeah, I'm compartmentalizing this because I can't afford to be incredulous anymore, or sad, or down bad. I have to fight right now. So I don't even have the space to fight the other doctor yet, or all the well, we begun certain things, but I don't have the space for all of that. And that's why I also, here's the beautiful thing about moments like this. A beautiful thing, Monette. Are you crazy? No. The beautiful thing is that it strips away all the false edifices. You don't give a fuck about playing nice with people. I don't have energy to be in anybody's face. People have invited me out. People wanted me to be places. People like, come to the cocktail hour, come to the function. I'd be like, I don't have it, because I need all my energy for me. That's one thing I've learned in illness repeatedly, unfortunately, is how to focus on me. When I was steeped in my codependency, the first time my angels knocked me on my ass with something that was so dastardly that I have not spoken about it here. I don't ever know if I will speak about it, but it was crazy. It was crazy, demonic, spiritual work. It was uncanny. It was something they'd never seen. It was in a writer. I think I talked about it, that I had a AFLAC, what do you call it, like a cancer policy specifically, and it had other weird diseases that no one ever gets as just other things in the rider. And fortunately I had a brilliant insurance agent who was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know, because I've never ever cashed this out or worked it, but you have the weird thing that's literally last on the list because no one ever gets it. That's spiritual attacks, guys. You get it? That's what it looks like. The things that know it's inexplicable and it was not caused by the things that it's usually caused by. They asked me in their infectious disease suits as they came in one by one, how did this happen to you? Well, it's because, you see, I have this side quest I do, guys. It's hard to tell. The medical professionals that are looking in your eyes, I'm a demon slayer by night. And so things like this manifest in my physical edifice so that I can continue to show people to the light. I wouldn't recommend it to everyone. It's not the most easy of work, and it's not always fun, but somehow the angels always get it done. So I'm in this hospital with this respiratory fairy shaking tracheotomies over me, shaking tracheal implants over me. And he says to me, you're going to code and you're going to go to the blue light. I can hear you from the door. And our job is to keep you alive. And my job specifically is to keep you breathing. You have 3 blood clots on your lungs. Do you know what your reality is? Yes, I do, sir. But I do not accept that. I said, I'm not upset with you. And we made friends. I always make sure to round about. But we had a moment, like on Grey's Anatomy, y'all. I didn't want to be living it out, but it was. He was like, you need to understand that you're going to code and you're going to go to heaven. He doesn't know what I do by night, though. And I was like, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. I don't want to suffocate and feel that. That's terrible. I've almost felt that. But I was like, the tracheotomy it's a no-go, sir. That's not what I signed up for. And that's one of those things when I tell you guys to demand from your spirit team your rights. That's one of those things where I said, listen. I've signed up for all the shit. Y'all have put me through things that other humans couldn't even imagine, couldn't even fathom, couldn't even have got through. I have been wounded so that I could activate my Chiron, so that I could teach the collective, so that I could teach you guys. And I said, I refuse. I'm negotiating here, just like I was in Turkey. If you're putting me in the gallery, you're knocking off a couple thousand off the fee, because I know that you are using me to teach, and I deserve some way here to be able to at least speak without the involvement of the tracheotomy. I said, I do not accept that. That's my reality, Angel. So y'all, I don't give a fuck. If you giving it to me, you taking me out of here. That's what I said. I meant that. And that's exactly how I talk to my angels. I'm not saying to be nasty. I am grateful. I cry. I'm loving. I'm sweet. But in that moment, when that respiratory therapist left, I said, let me tell you something right now, angels. I did not do all this work for y'all to do this. So here's what we're going to do. You better put it in on a good fix or take me out. These are my terms of negotiations. I'm not here to wrestle with you. If you tell me I have work to do, I need to be able to speak clearly to the people to get the message through. And I put in my thing. And we're going to see how it plays out. I'm talking cash shit right now. I'm standing on faith right now. I'm leaping, and the net has yet to appear because they have not yet cut me ear to ear, but I am standing here without fear to say, I trust that they heard the things I had to say, and I am an example to you, collective listening today, that you talk to your spirit team and you tell them exactly what it is that you need, and we're going to see what happens on the other side. I have a feeling that I will be tracheotomy free. It's big words to say on the other side of something that is unbeknownst to me. But that's how much I have faith in the spirit team that works with me. Because only they could have produced this miracle of getting me to Turkey, having incredible accommodations, having a driver every day to the hospital, having meals handed to me, and having a translator working with me, and having doctors give me heart hands and tell me that I'm the queen. This is a spiritual kind of medical team, because the one in America sucked. Now, let me tell you what happened when I got admitted to the ER. That was the final coup de grace of grace and of God being everywhere in the place. I'm in the triage waiting to get taken up to the room. And the attending comes in and he is talking to me and he says, listen, I really shouldn't say this. And I noticed right away a cut on his neck. And I said, what? You might be asking, what is that? And he said, well, I really understand what you're going through because I had thyroid cancer. And he said, I hope that you do not. But they did have to take my thyroid. And I said, did you have to have a tracheotomy? This is before I was even admitted. That was on my mind because they had told me in Turkey, you're going to be we don't even know what we can promise you because it's such a dire case. And he said, no, I didn't have to. And so he was like, I hate that this is happening to you. And he was like, I don't know how they didn't catch this. It's so big. And he's like, and I know what I'm talking about. He said, I am not an endocrinologist. I am a ER doctor. But I'm telling you from my own case, this should have never got this big. That's how I know it's spiritual warfare, guys. You guys get it now? This is bigger than me. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than what's in my throat. This is thought forms. This is me fighting for the ability to speak up for myself. This is me saying to people when I was a kid and saying to therapists and counselors what other people did to violate me. This is me taking my power back and refusing to be silenced by the patriarchy. This is me saying, I don't give a fuck if you don't like what color my skin is. I still deserve my rights. I'm still a human. This is me saying, I'm not just going to be identified with male energy because that's what you want for me and all you can see from me. This is me saying, I embrace my duality, my bisexuality, my weirdness, my neurospicy. This is why this attack was sent to me, because I terrify people every time I open my mouth to speak, because when I speak, it's only truth that they see. It's what they hear. And it's what other people seek. And demons that have agendas that don't want that kind of freedom to get to you say, okay, if we just take out this big bitch, that's light work for us to do. Is it? Not so easy. And even if they're taking me out, and this is the last that I can speak, this video will get loaded because you will hear, and it is part of my legacy. You speak up for yourself, no matter who doesn't want you to. You speak up for your health, no matter who is fighting you. And you call in the favors from God that are owed to you, because that tracheotomy favor was one owed to me. I said, let me tell you something. Let me tell you this. Here's what we're going to do. And even if it's one that I had to have temporarily, I said it's reversible and you will reverse it. That part. I'm telling you right now, that's not my destiny, but that's not because I hate that for anybody. But it's like, listen, if I do this kind of work, then this is something that I can call in from my spirit team. I deserve that. I wanted to share that with you guys while I can still talk, because some people have had the surgery and they've lost their voice for months. I don't know when I'm going to speak again. I'm going into, I can't even say this is a dark night. The whole thing has been a dark night. I don't know how else to say it to you. But I'm going to tell you this. I am not giving up. I am not relenting. And I'm not just accepting my fate. I'm grateful for the clients that said they would work with me by snail mail or email, whatever way. But I'm going to tell you, this will be not the last you heard of my voice. But I just don't know when it's going to be back. There are no guarantees and no promises. I don't know the extent of this attack. I don't know what they're going to find when they biopsy. But I am telling you right now that I needed to say this to you, because this is my legacy. It may be the last thing I say to you, but know that even in the midst of whatever this is, I have not been abandoned. Even those elephants on my chest was a miraculous intervention to get me there, because those embolisms are widow makers. And I was laying next to my husband, who would have been widowed if I didn't listen to my angel say, ain't nobody told you that the assignment was over yet. This was a long one today, but I think it's important. It might be some of the last stuff you hear me say. I will be uploading this before surgery, because I have that much faith that there will be an after surgery. I don't have to ask you to pray for me. Everyone that's listening that loves me is praying. And the haters that are just here lurking, you're still lurking. And yes, I received your messages. And what I chose to do, my body so wisely did, was bind up all of the hate you sent me and put it in this tumor that will be removed shortly. Message received. Thank you. Throat cut like you wanted it to happen, and I'm cool with that too, because it's under the guidance of skilled surgical hands and not the likes of you. God's plan. God's miraculous plan. The weapons may form collective, but just like this thing in my throat, It will not prosper, no matter how much demons wish it would. You will have divine intervention, direct interception, elephants on your chest, a weird unrest, invites to Turkey that come out of the clear blue air, because your angels know you have more work to do here. It has been the pleasure of my life to share energy with you. It's not a trite catchphrase. It is the work that I am committed to, and I think you guys feel that it's in my bones. I love you. I love you. You are loved, and you have angels that are waiting to intercede on your behalf. Don't think of the bad that I've said in the story and say, well, were they paying attention? They were. But see stories unfold this way, and I'm a dramatic bitch. So they gave me something to work with, and I'm working with it. I much prefer the drama come this way than through weird people. You know what I'm saying, guys? Take a tumor anytime over people with lying eyes. And apparently, careful what you ask for, I did take the tumor. And I'm eating that too. I'm eating that too because I have more work to do. So, I'm gonna go. But please know I love you so. I'm grateful for you. And you fight for yourself and you speak up for yourself because you have work to do. There are people that you influence. There are people in your community that you help. There are people that you set free by living in your authenticity. And if you've learned nothing from me, bitches, you live in your authenticity. No matter who doesn't want to hear the words you speak. Come back and join me after surgery, and we will continue to evolve together.